Or picture this. It's quiet, really quiet. Just after 3 a.m., Thursday, August 8th, 1963. Britain's mostly asleep, under this cool late summer fog. But something is moving. The Glasgow-to-London Royal Mail train. Reliable. Rhythmic. And absolutely loaded. Yeah, this wasn't your average mail. This train, this specific one, was carrying a fortune in old cash, sacks of it in a high-security carriage. We're talking 2.6 million pounds, pulled from circulation, heading for the Bank of England. Just to give you a sense of scale, it's like, what, over $70 million today? A rolling treasure chest, basically.
And that treasure chest meant to go straight into London Euston nonstop. Well, it stopped. Just ground to a halt out in the middle of nowhere, really, between Leighton Buzzard and Cheddington. Why? Because someone had deliberately messed with the signals. Rigged them.
So today we're doing a deep dive into the Great Train Robbery, not just the act itself, but the incredible planning behind it, the almost unbelievable mess-ups during it, and how this one crime really changed things in Britain. Exactly. Our focus for you is going to be that tension, right, between this almost military precision in the planning and then, well, the total amateur hour in the aftermath. How did 15 men pull off arguably the crime of the century? And how did they then make such basic mistakes that, frankly, cost them everything? Let's dig into where this whole audacious idea started. The main guy, the architect, was Bruce Reynolds. Sources paint him as, well, not your typical thug. He was apparently quite charming, intelligent. A career criminal, sure, but he thought strategically, like a chess player. He was looking for that one big score, the one that would let him, make history and just walk away.
Right, but the fascinating thing is, the actual idea wasn't purely his. It came from intelligence. Reynolds moved in those tight London underworld circles, and he got this critical tip-off from someone they only ever called the Ulsterman, anonymous. And this Ulsterman basically laid it out. Royal Mail trains carry huge sums. And security, virtually nil. I mean, virtually nil is almost an understatement. These were just working trains. No armed guards, no special armored carriages for the cash. The postal staff in that sorting carriage, their job was sorting mail, not fighting off robbers. The whole system kind of relied on nobody daring to hit a Royal Mail train.
So the Ulsterman didn't just give them the train, he gave them the when. He pointed to a specific service, the Up Special from Glasgow. It often carried cash being taken out of circulation, but he highlighted the upcoming run, August 7th. Because of a bank holiday, weeks of cash had built up. It was going to be an unusually massive haul. That was the moment.
And that's where Reynolds, showed his caliber. He don't just jump at it. He carefully put together a team. 15 guys. Not necessarily mixed, but specialists drawn from different criminal networks. You had people like Ronnie Biggs, who claimed he knew a retired train driver that was his in. Buster Edwards, known for being cool under pressure, street smart. Charlie Wilson, the organizer, the guy who'd handle the money side. It was a sort of criminal supergroup.
And the planning they put in was, frankly, obsessive. They studied the route, the exact schedule, staff shifts, signals, everything. They picked the spot. Bradego Bridge, near Ledburn in Buckinghamshire. Why? Total isolation. Deep countryside, miles from the nearest town, miles from any quick police response. The target, the team, the location, all locked down.
Yeah, and the method for actually stopping the train was pretty clever, if audacious. The night before, August 7th, a couple of the gang went out to the signal box near the bridge, climbed the post, covered the green light with a glove, just a simple leather glove. Then they wired up the red light to a battery so it would glow, and at the same time they cut the nearby phone lines. Total communication blackout. It wasn't just about stopping the train, it was about isolating it completely.
So the trap is set. 6:50 p.m., August 7th, the train leaves Glasgow. Drivers Jack Mills, 57 years old, with his fireman David Whitby. They have absolutely no idea that the signals they trust, the system they rely on, has been turned against them. Then, 3:03 a.m., just like planned, the train slows, responds to that fake red signal, and stops. And out of the darkness, masked men appear. The first part goes like clockwork. They quickly uncouple the engine and just the one carriage, the high-value coach from the rest of the train. Most of the postal workers are further back, still asleep, unaware.
But right here, this is where the meticulous plan just crashes into messy reality. They tell the driver, Jack Mills, to move the engine and the coach forward a bit, under the bridge where they plan to unload. And Mills, he refuses. Just flat out refuses. He's a railway man through and through. His instinct is defiance, not cooperation, and this throws everything off schedule. Panic starts to set in, they resort to violence, which maybe they hadn't intended, and it exposes this huge flaw in their plan. Remember the retired driver Ronnie Biggs was supposed to bring? The guy whose whole job was to move the train this short distance. He completely froze. Turns out he only knew how to drive the old steam trains. This was a newer Class 40 diesel electric. Totally different controls. He hadn't given a clue.
Wait. So this whole multi-million-pound operation, planned down to the minute, relied on a getaway driver who couldn't actually drive the getaway vehicle. That seems incredible, given how carefully they scouted the location and signals.
It really does. It speaks volumes about maybe ego, maybe bad communication within the gang. Who knows? But the upshot was they had to get Jack Mills to drive. And in the struggle to force him, Mills gets hit over the head with a metal bar, a couche. That's the moment it shifts from robbery to serious violence. A line crossed.
Okay, so Mills, presumably under duress now, moves the train the short distance under the bridge. Then what?
Then the chaos kind of snaps back into efficiency, strangely enough. They break into the carriage, quickly overpower the few postal workers inside, and then it's just sheer manpower, forming a human chain, basically, down this steep embankment next to the track, hauling these incredibly heavy sacks of cash, 128 of them, down to waiting vehicles. They used old army trucks, apparently.
And the sources say this whole unloading part took about half an hour. Just 30 minutes. 30 minutes to grab 2.6 million pounds. Again, the biggest cash robbery in British history at that point, and then they just disappeared into the pre-dawn light, believing absolutely that they'd pulled off the perfect crime.
Yeah, they sped off to the safe house they'd prearranged, Leatherslade Farm. It was about 25 miles away, not too far. They got there just as the sun was coming up. Imagine the scene. Exhausted, adrenaline pumping, surrounded by literally mountains of money. This was supposed to be the celebration, right? Count the cash, divvy it up.
And this is the moment. The pivotal moment where it all starts to unravel, isn't it?
Yeah.
The perfect crime hits a very human snag. Reynolds, the planner, he apparently argued strongly, we leave NW, burn the farm, scatter, lie low. That was the professional move. But the others, maybe overwhelmed by the sheer amount of money, the relief, the exhaustion, they convinced him to stay. Just for a few days. Counted properly, maybe have a bit of a party.
It was just a disastrous decision. Utterly amateur. They basically went from a high-stakes professional heist to, well, a criminal holiday camp. There are stories of them playing Monopoly using the actual stolen banknotes, drinking, eating, and leaving behind the one thing professionals never leave: evidence, forensic clues. That decision to linger for those extra few days, that was the fatal flaw. It cost them everything.
I have to ask, though, how does that compute? These guys planned the signal rigging, the escape route, the team roles. How could the same people then be so careless as to leave fingerprints all over a farmhouse? Feels like such a contradiction.
I think it maybe shows the psychological effect of that much cash, that much sudden success. Discipline just evaporated. Complacency set in. Meanwhile, back at the track, the alarm was raised pretty quickly once the abandoned train section and the injured driver were found. But finding the robbers took time. It was actually days later, apparently from a tip-off from a local farmer who saw activity at the supposedly empty Leatherslade farm, that the police finally closed in. And when they got there, wow, it was like Christmas for the forensics team. The gang had obviously left in a hurry. They left behind sleeping bags, clothes, food wrappers, and crucially, fingerprints. Everywhere. On ketchup bottles, on that Monopoly set they were using, even on maps showing the route. The police barely had to search. The clues were just sitting there.
And the man put in charge of piecing this all together was Detective Superintendent Tommy Butler from Scotland Yard. Sources describe him as methodical, cold, relentless, obsessive even, a real bulldog type. He knew the world was watching, and he made this very simple, very chilling promise. He'd catch every last one of them. And he pretty much did, didn't he? The investigation was enormous, one of the biggest ever in Britain at the time. They used those fingerprints, the maps, even tracked down radio equipment the gang used. It all came together.
Yeah, and under that kind of pressure, loyalties within the gang just crumbled. People started talking. The trial itself, held in Aylesbury in 1964, was a media sensation. In the end, 11 of the main gang members were found guilty, and the judge. He handed down sentences that were completely unprecedented for robbery. Up to 30 years. It wasn't just punishment. It was a very clear, very stern message from the establishment. Challenge the state like this, and we will crush you.
But even with those heavy sentences, the story didn't end there. The Great Train Robbery became truly legendary, cemented in public imagination, partly because of the escapes, right? It went from just a crime to this sort of folktale. You had Ronnie Biggs, probably the most famous, escaping from Wandsworth Prison in 1965, climbed the wall, And his life on the run Australia, plastic surgery, ending up in Brazil where he couldn't be extradited, turned him into this bizarre pop culture figure. He was collaborating with punk bands, loving the notoriety, lived openly for decades before finally coming back to the UK in 2001 voluntarily.
Exactly. And he wasn't the only one. Buster Edwards, the tough guy, he fled to Mexico. But eventually he couldn't handle being away, came back, served his time, and then famously ended up running a flower stall near Waterloo Station. Became a sort of London character. Even Bruce Reynolds, the mastermind, managed to evade capture for 5 whole years before they finally got him in Torquay in 1969. The escapes definitely added another layer to the whole myth.
So if we strip away the myth, the notoriety, the escapes, what was the actual lasting impact? What was the real price paid here?
Well, the most direct, tragic price was paid by Jack Mills, the driver. That blow to the head during the robbery. It caused lasting damage, both physical and psychological. Sources say he struggled terribly afterwards. He tried to go back to work, but he just wasn't the same. He died only about 7 years later, and his family always maintained it was due to the trauma of that night. That's the undeniable human cost. And for the robbers themselves. Despite the legend, the reality was quite different. Most of the money was never recovered, or it was quickly spent on lawyers, hiding out, bad investments. They served incredibly long prison sentences. Many of them, after getting out, lived pretty quiet, difficult lives. That dream of retiring rich, it evaporated pretty quickly.
And looking bigger picture, for Britain itself, this robbery forced a total rethink of security, didn't it? The way mail and cash were transported, especially by train, changed overnight. Those huge cash shipments, relying on little more than trust. That just stopped, became history. It also sort of marked the end of an era, maybe. The idea of the gentleman thief or the romanticized outlaw took a serious hit because the consequences were shown to be so severe.
Absolutely. It sits right on that cusp, the early 60s. You've got the tail end of post-war austerity, the old criminal underworld making this audacious gamble. And at the same time, Britain's heading into the whole swinging 60s vibe, rebellion, questioning authority. The public fascination, I think, partly came from that. It mirrored that shift, that attraction to challenging the old ways.
Bruce Reynolds himself, after he served his time, summed it up quite powerfully, didn't he? Captures that contradiction. He said something like, "We weren't criminals. We were professionals, but in the end, you always pay the price." They were chasing fortune, maybe fame, and ultimately found neither lasting security nor real peace.
And here's the final twist, the thing that still lingers. Despite everything we know, the planning, the execution, the mistakes, the arrests, the sentences, that initial spark remains a mystery. The Ulster Man. The anonymous source who gave Reynolds the crucial intelligence, the person who knew about the train, the schedule, the lack of security, never definitively identified. There's loads of speculation, of course. Was it a disgruntled postal worker, someone inside the railway, maybe even someone higher up? We just don't know for sure. So the question maybe to leave you with is this. What does it tell us when the very origin of such a huge historical event, the catalyst for the whole thing, remains completely unknown? A persistent secret at the heart of Britain's most famous robbery.
If you enjoyed this video and want to dive deeper into more cases like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like the video if you found the story compelling, and share it with your friends and family who might be interested in true crime and mysteries. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with all our latest content and join a growing community of curious minds exploring the most fascinating cases. Click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything.